All right, so everybody, this is a quick beginner presentation on paint. There's 3 different types of paint. The most basic one is acrylic. Most everybody knows it. The Citadel, Vallejo, Mission, Secret Weapons from right there. And Tamiya. Tamiya is very special. It's got a little solvent in there, so it doesn't behave quite like acrylic, even though it's acrylic. That's why I put an asterisk right next to it. We'll get into that later. And there is enamel paint. These dries a lot slower than the other type of paint. They're more of an oil-based paint, and they're good at hiding brush stroke if you just do it thin layers. Remember to thin it, and it's really good for panel wash. So every time you do panel wash, if you thin it really well, you can use lighter fluid to wipe it off. So I'm going through the basic right now, and then we'll go through the more advanced stuff. And right here is lacquer paint. These you want to wear a respirator because they're going to kill you, get you a little cancer. All right, so the most popular ones like Mr. Color, Alclad. They're great for metallic colors. Dianode, they have really good pigments. And a lot of the primers are actually Alclad, so that they stick onto the base coat a lot better. I mean, the plastic a lot better. And there are some very rare lacquers out there too, like Tamiya makes lacquer, and also Monomaster also make lacquer, even though they're normally enamels. So you want to read the label when you buy paint. Make sure that it says enamel or lacquer, and you're not mixing it up, because they do behave differently. All right, so these are the other stuff you can put on your paint. Not everybody supports it, but I do use it. Like brush cleaner, I use it for airbrush cleaning, so that way it will wash out all the liquids. Even all 3 type of paints, it clean it right out. But it's very volatile, so make sure you wear a mask for any of these stuff because you don't want to get it on you, and wear gloves. The second item is terpenoid. This stuff is very good for enamel. This is a very unique item. You want to get the blue label for this one because this item does not damage plastic. A lot of the enamel wash, when you do enamel washes, the plastic, if you have a bare plastic on it, it's going to damage the plastic. But if you use this guy for a panel line, it does not damage the plastic. Well, you don't want to leave it on too long, but it's better for the plastic with this guy. There's Zippo. It's great for enamel removal. I'll show that in a little bit. So basically, after the enamel dry, you can use Zippo lighter fluid or rubbing alcohol or just thinner to remove the enamel paint. And there are also thinner, Mr. Color level thinner. Let's see, right there, that one. So that one has a thinner. It's good for almost all sorts of paint type. It's also, it has a little bit of a retarder in there, so that when you use it, it automatically levels out a lot better. And then, so you don't have to add a separate retarder for it. And then that way you will hide a brush stroke if you use it for hand brushing. And this one is also a retarder. It's called a slow dry from Liquitex. It's mostly used for acrylic. I have not tried it on enamel or lacquer, but they are really good for hand brushing. They hide, they thin, and then they hide the brush marks. And this one right here, Pledge. If you don't like it, don't use it. But I use it. It's for gloss. It's meant for floors. It's an acrylic-based gloss. It's a very high gloss. It's very good if you use it for clear glasses. So if you have a piece of transparent piece, clear piece, and then you want to give it a little bit more realistic shine to it, the old school way is to dip the whole plastic piece into this guy, and then that way it will give a nice glass-like shine to it. And make sure you don't get any dust on it. And the last item here I have is hairspray. So this is for hairspray chipping. I will demo that a little bit So what happened with hairspray, there's actually two different properties. One is the low hold hairspray, and then the other one is the max hold hairspray, and they do behave differently. Alright, so for paint, there is certain rules when you apply different types of paint you want to keep in mind. So with bare plastic, you want to put a primer. You don't have to if you don't want to, but basically primer is the first layer you put on the plastic after you clean up the plastic. Maybe you washed it, you clean up the grease and stuff, and you put a primer on it so that the paint will hold better. And next one will be lacquer. Lacquer is the one that you want to be right on the primer, or you could go right on bare plastic. If you add a little bit of a brush cleaner in there, it will actually behave almost like a primer and bites into the plastic. Don't try that at home until you're comfortable with it, because it's gonna ruin it if you're not experienced with it. But if you add about a 2% drop of brush cleaner in lacquer, it will bite into the plastic. And right here is the enamel. You want to enamel on top of lacquer if you do not have any protection in between, because enamel will not react with lacquer paint. And the last one is acrylic. It's a water-based paint, so that guy stays on the top. If you have paints in the other way around like this, let's say for example right here, if you have acrylic paint at the very bottom, let's just say you have a color that you really want, you only have it in acrylic. So the way to do that is after you apply primer, because acrylic doesn't bite very well, after you apply primer, you put acrylic on it, and you put, after it dries, you wait for it to completely dry, you put a clear coat on it. For best, it would be a lacquer clear coat. They react differently, and then that way it protects the acrylic paint from future coats of lacquer or enamel if you put on it. So that way it will not react with the acrylic. There are some special effects that if you do try to get a special effect of the acrylic peeling off or lifting, then you could skip the lacquer coat and clear coat and put the lacquer on it, because that will lift the acrylic paint, and that will also create some really cool effect that intentionally that would be good. If not, then it will be a disaster. And this one right here on the right is another example. If you reverse all three layers, you want to put clear coats in between. That way it will protect the layer underneath from the layer on top. So basic plastic, primer, acrylic, clear coat acrylic, enamel, clear coat enamel, and then lacquer on top. So that way it will, and always test it on a spoon. Test it on a runner, test it on scraps, make sure it doesn't react weirdly, because some paints do act differently. You want to make sure that your paint doesn't behave differently. Once you know your paint, then you are good to go. Oh, right here. So this one, if the paint is absolutely dry. If the paint is absolutely dry, you could do it in a reverse order, but you want to do it with airbrush. Don't brush it, don't hand brush it, because that's going to lift it, because the liquid is a lot thicker. It's going to react with the thinner. So if you do a very thin layer with airbrush, just mist it, wait for the mist to dry, another mist coat, and then mist coat, and then eventually it will go on properly without having to put clear coat on it. But test that, and don't do it on your kit until you're absolutely sure it's not reacting. But it will work. Alright, so we're going to talk about enamel wash. This is a very handy way of adding the first layer of weathering or panel line. Panel line is actually the same way, a different name for enamel wash. So what you do is you thin it really thin, let's say about 10% paint with about 90% thinner. This thinner right here. You can use other thinners. Make sure you add a little bit of, depends on how much color you want to it, and then it gets really dark. So basically you apply all over the kits you want, and then you can start lifting it off by just getting a cloth on it and rubbing it off, and it will create these streaks, and that is really good for color modulation. So the color is not very bare. So like right here, this is bare color. you apply a layer of enamel wash on it, and then when you wipe it off, it looks like this. It mixes the two colors, and it gives a little bit more interest. It makes the recessed parts pop out. So it's almost just like a panel line. So the same thing with panel line is if you only apply a dab on the line itself, and you do the same process with a thinner, I will show later, then that is the same thing. It's the same process as enamel wash. It's just one is a bigger area, and one is a pinpoint line that you do, but they're basically the same way. You thin it, and you wipe it off. And here is a reverse wash. So this is a very interesting technique. It's very, very useful. What I did right here is I put a lacquer base. You could do a different way, but lacquer base is the best way to do this. And usually if you do like, let's say metallic colors right here. And I actually have a sample. Let me just pass it around. So I'm going to toss it to you, catch it, and then just pass it around. So I put a lacquer base on it. I wait for it to dry. And then I spray some orange enamel. Orange enamel colors, let it dry. And then I put a little Q-tip with lighter fluid, and you just lightly wipe on it, and all the parts that's, higher, for the lack of word, it will get, the enamel paint will get wiped off. So that way it's showing the bare metal color underneath, and you can do it as many times as you want. So here I applied a layer of green, I apply a layer of white, and I just wipe it, and the metal color under it's still showing through. So that you can do as many layers as you want, and it will always work. Just wipe it lightly. Make sure the lacquer base is completely dried, because if you rub it really, really hard, it's going the lighter fluid is still going to rub off the lacquer. Keep going at it. And right here is another technique. Earlier I mentioned hairspray chipping. On the base coat, you can put any base coat you want, but most people have either lacquer or acrylic. That's my preferred colors. And then you spray a thin layer of hairspray, aerosol hairspray, and then apply another layer of acrylic color on top. So you want to make sure this is acrylic. It does work with enamel a little bit, but acrylic color works the best. So earlier I mentioned that there's a low hold hairspray and a max hold hairspray. The low hold hairspray creates this kind of effect. It does not come clean off. It creates like a little blend of color on the side, and it mixes the color very well. So it depends on the effect you want. And this is the max hold hairspray. When you chip it off, it just comes peeling right off. It's like layer of paint just come clean off, and then that. So you can apply different situations, depends on the type of weather you want to do. Alright, so after all these, I'm going to do some demos. So we're just going to go through these. And this one is very interesting. When I was playing with the hairspray, this happened. So on the base, I have lacquer. It's the brown color. And then I put a layer of hairspray. This is the low hold hairspray. And over here, I have acrylic as a blue color on top of it. And I put enamel on top of acrylic right here on the red. So what happened is when I apply it, the water to it, it lifted off the acrylic, but it also took out the enamel because acrylic is underneath it, and it creates a very nice blend of color that I have a spoon right here. So here we go. So you can take a look at that, because that is acrylic and enamel on top of each other. And it creates a very nice blend of color. And right here, I have, I'm testing nail polish right here. So, well, let's just say I'm testing shiny colors on there. On the left, I have a flat color base coat. On the right, I have a gloss coat on the same spoon. And right here, if I put the same coat of color on top of it, it actually makes the color behave differently. So it's hard to see, but I have a sample that I will show in a little bit. But on the top, on the very top of the spoon right here, I also apply another layer of gloss coat, the floor polish. So that it actually still has a difference. So when you paint on a flat coat or a gloss coat, even though you gloss in the final step, it will still create a different result depending on the very bottom layer of the color you have. So make sure you test your colors, or else the color is not going to come out the way you want it. And last one right here, I was testing it for a texture. So here's a plastic dip. What happened is plastic dip come out really rough. So when I painted on my plastic right here, it actually created little bumps on it, almost like a letter. And that is, there's a lot of stuff you can do with paint. You just gotta try it, and then you could also see what the result is, and then you could see what you can do with it. So one day I found out plastic dip created these textures, and then I just decided to make a letter vest out of it and use the plastic dip, and then it will make these little letter grains. Where's Freddy? I need to do demos now. Freddy. Alright, so right here, this is a sample for Hold Hairspray Chip. On top I have a blue color, and on the bottom I have silver color. I have already wetted already, but let's see if I need to put some more water on it. Alright, so after I put lacquer, I let it dry. I put hairspray on it, I let it dry, and I put acrylic. It's done about 3-4 days ago, so we'll see how that come out. Oh, there we go, very nice. It's more light, get more light in here. Alright, so you can start seeing the silver coming up. I'll pass it around a little bit. So when you do hairspray, even though it's done 3 days ago, it still comes right out. Depends on the tool you want to use. It will create different kind of scratches. So let's say if I get a Q-tip right here. Usually Q-tip doesn't work very well, but oh shoot, I came out too fast. Sorry. Alright, so a little rubbing, a little rubbing, a little rubbing. And then the more where you want it to come off, and it comes up a lot more right there, right there. So that does not come out very well right there. Okay. Alright, well I'll pass it around so you can see how it behaves. So, but this one I scrubbed a little hard. It looked like it scratched it. But for hairspray, if you want to stop the process, make sure you dry it off, and that way it will stop reacting. And when you wait for it to dry, you could continue your process and see if you need more scratching on it, then you could add more water to it and you can start rubbing it off. So the top coat is blue color, it's acrylic, and that will scratch. Depends on the scratch. Some people use needles to scratch it. Some people use X-Acto knife, toothbrush, they all work. So another one right here I have is also hairspray, but I have enamel on it. Let's see. So I got some water on it. The enamel underneath acrylic on the top. And there's also enamel yellow above acrylic on the bottom. And the middle part is just acrylic on lacquer. So we're going to see how that reacts because I have not tried that before yet. Let's see. The water is not getting into it. Come on, water. Alright, so let's see here. Some more water. How much time I got? Alright, that's good. Now I have light. So this one, what happened was this is like an experiment. So what happened was the enamel actually stopped the process of the hairspray. So only where the acrylic and the lacquer meets, it came off because acrylic do react to water. So it came off, still chip it, but it does not come off. It does not lift acrylic down here. Maybe the water is not getting into it. Let me try it. Oh shoot. Alright, so enamel hardened really well after 3 days, so it's not coming off. But the sample I did earlier with the blue spoon and the red enamel on top, the enamel was still wet within, I did that within 1 hour of the applying of the enamel. So the enamel was still wet, so I was able to lift the enamel. But after 3 days, the enamel dried really well, so it does not come off. So that's a failed one. But I'm gonna send it over. There we go. All right. Now we're gonna have some fun with the. Oh yeah, here's the other samples for the hairspray chipping. One is the low hold. It's coming up. It's fine. There's spoons. And then this is the max hold. So you can see the difference up close because it's very different in person when you look at them. Alright, so right now I'm going to do a little enamel lifting, reverse wash. So the most common example is if you look at this piece right here, you see the blue underneath and then you see the red. So I want to keep the red in the recess and then I want to pop out the blue on top. The red is enamel and the blue is lacquer. So I get a little bit of a Q-tip and my lighter fluid. And here we go. Let's see how long. It's been sitting there for a week, so we'll see. That's coming off. So you can see the paint start lifting with the lighter fluid. You do want to change the Q-tip when it gets really dirty because if you don't change it, it's going to blend the color. If that's what you want, that's fine. There we go. It's let me see if I can. So you can see the blue coming out underneath the enamel, and that is basically enamel wash, reverse wash. So that way you don't have to try to mask the border right there. You could just use the enamel, plan ahead, use enamel, and that way the color will get removed. Let me get my tube tip. There it goes. It's more coming off. But yeah, you get the point. It basically comes off when you put lighter fluid on it. I find lighter fluid works best because I've tried alcohol and thinners, and they don't lift enamel as good as lighter fluid, it seems like. But right here, I'm going to throw it over, and that will be a reverse wash on the very bottom of the leg. All right, so this one. Let me see what it was. Reverse wash. Oh, this is another reverse wash sample. So this, I just want to do it on a flat surface so you can see a lot more clear instead of a little recess. And there it goes. So silver on the bottom is lacquer, and the enamel on top. It just comes right out even after so many days. And you can see that a little bit of color is blending because the Q-tip is really dirty. But if you change out the Q-tip and then reapply lighter fluid, it's going to be a lot cleaner than that. But if you're doing weathering, this is the same as weathering streaks. So if you put a layer of enamel on it and you get your brush, and you can start getting the enamel to come out and behave like, let's say, brown for mud color or dust color or engine grease. And let me see what I have on top here. I don't remember what the blue was, but we'll find out. What was the blue? Ah, I remembered. This blue was acrylic. So I was lifting off the acrylic also along with the enamel underneath and showing through to the lacquer base at the very bottom. Another way you could do is you don't have to always use Q-tip. Like right here I have a piece of cloth and then just put my lighter fluid on it. I can start wiping it. So let's see. It's the same process. And give a different texture on it. So that way, so on the left right here, well, we'll see it in person. It's hard to see on the cameras. So on the left, what it looks like is it has a little bit of a webbing texture on it. And that way, let's say you just want like a little mud splash on it. And on the right, it's a cleaner white. So when you look at it, it comes a lot clearer off. So it depends on the medium you use, like the material you use to lift the lighter fluid. They all behave with a different result coming back up. So that way, depends on what you're trying to do with it. There's a lot of flexibility on it. And the last one I have here is just to show that there's some really interesting colors. So I have a blue color on top and a white on the bottom, and I applied a layer of clear red. So if you look at it, you can see blue, but a light hit at a different angle, you see red. So maybe if you want to like give a Trans Am effect on your kit, a little reflection on the red, then you could try that, and that will keep the blue and still give you a little. The red is lacquer red, so you want to make sure the bottom is very dry. Oops, sorry, that one didn't go through. All right, let's see, what else did I got? No, that's it, I'm done. Thank you. Ready. No more spoons. Oh, any questions? No questions? It is a beginner class, so.
You mentioned something about the Tamiya acrylic?
Yeah, so Tamiya acrylic is, if you add water to it, it will start clumping because it's actually, there's alcohol in that acrylic paint, so they dry differently. So if you want a thin acrylic, Tamiya acrylic, you actually want to use like a mystery color level thinner because that one will work very nice. It will almost make Tamiya like a lacquer paint. But if you add water to it, I don't know if you ever tried that, it's like lumpy, and then when you brush it, it makes like really bad brush marks. So yeah, Tamiya, even though it's lacquer, it's not really lacquer paint. So yes, acrylic paint. Sorry. Oh, there's one.
What for?
I don't know. I thought you were doing stuff. I'm done.
Probably. Oh, are you done?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So, I have it on mute. That's fine. Thanks, Jason, for doing this. I don't need the mic because you guys can all hear me, right? That's right. Use the mic because hopefully. Manny! No, don't mind me. So I'm gonna blame our coordinator for. So can you go check the airbrushes, make sure they all work, make sure they're on. So I like that he packed this in so everyone runs back to back, and there's no prep time in between.
I know.
but you know what? That's how we fit more events.
I had to pick 3 before judging, so.
Yeah. This is getting. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure everything is working, and I also need a mixing cup too. If you could grab me a cup from over there, we'll use one of those. How many airbrushes do we have? How many airbrush stations do we have? So I know how many bits to cut out.
Yeah, I thought this was all prepped ahead of time.
What?
All the paint stuff.
No. What? That would require, like, you know, being prepared. How many airbrushes do we have? Raise your hand if you're holding on to an airbrush. And then if you guys are interested, we're going to have you share airbrushes. If you guys can come up and we'll just swap out. So make some friends with everyone. We all build Gunpla here, or, you know, model kits of some sort. So make some new friends.
What do you want on the table? All the isopropyl, everything.
Okay, cool. I'm good.
Airbrush and demo. What? This is those Gundam guys. YouTube.com/those
You got the streaming thing, right?
It's going, yeah.
Cool.
People can hear our mistakes.
These aren't mistakes. This is life as it's happening.
Are you
Plus,
using a camera here or just?
I probably don't need. No, we'll see how this goes. I like that all these are all being used right now for holding this up when it should be held for this, right? So can you help me grab those off there? One board's good enough.
One board on the back or
on the back? Let's make this higher. There we go. Everyone can see, right? Sorry. And some of you guys that are new here, this is about as organized as we get usually. So, haha! How many of you guys sitting down are new here to the show? Right? How many of you guys are enjoying this so far? How many of you guys are like outside of California sitting down right here? All you guys are from California. Nice. Oh, there's one guy that's walking away raising his hand.
Freddie, is this yours?
What?
Who's projector is it?
Angels. It'd be smart to use smaller pieces.
This one.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Do you have any extra airbrushes?
Well, yeah, there should be extra airbrushes. Make sure this one works. So, did you set up my airbrush? Where's my compressor?
It's right over here.
My compressor? No, I have a bigger compressor. Is it plugged in?
That one?
Okay. No, Manny knows which one it is.
Okay.
Gene's gonna be another one of your minions.
Huh?
Gene's one of your minions too.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Of course he is. Hey, Gene. Where's Gene? Come here.
Are you need a camera here?
No. Please cut these and skewer them.
Okay.
Whatever we have left for skewers, all right?
Alright, let me grab
So-
paper towel.
There's paper towels here. Are you actually eating? Why are you eating? I'm hungover.
Where's mine?
No, yeah, he's right.
You guys hear me? So let's start this off. Right? If you guys look at your airbrush in front of you, pick this up. This is called a dual action airbrush, right? So dual action means you press down for air. If you press down, you'll hear air coming out, right? Now, to get paint flowing, you pull back on the trigger. So you press down and pull back. So the action is always to press down first before you pull back. And when you pull back slowly. Now, when you have that, you have controls of how far you pull it back. So your control is how much pressure you're spraying out and also how much paint you throw. So when you're first starting off with this airbrush, push down for air, pull back slightly for paint, and when you're done painting, push forward and then let go of the trigger. So what happens is if you're pulling back for paint and you let go of the air, you're going to have paint built up on the tip of this, and you're just going to you're going to splatter the next time you paint. So I'm going to do a little demo with one of these airbrushes up here. So how many of you guys have never done this before? So I know you've done this last year. You did do this last year. So do you mind if we get someone to use that airbrush? Because I know you've done this last year. We get. Yeah. So we'll share, right? We shared last year, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to hand off a couple of pieces for you guys. Grab a piece. Grab a piece. You've never airbrushed before? Yeah. So Alex is going to give up a seat because I know this bastard airbrushes. How many guys back there have never airbrushed, want to come here and test this out? Come on up. I will promise not to spit on you a lot. Only slightly.
Can you help out to find these two persons? They are not doing it correctly.
Okay. Oh, that's one of our staff guys.
Okay.
Jonathan! Maybe you should fill out your form correctly. Okay? Way to throw your girlfriend under the bus, as I announced this.
Scott Gibson.
Okay, Scott Gibson, are you in the room? That's you too? Oh, God, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
All right. So, I'm not going to really go over how to mix paints because that's one of those learning experiences. What you generally want to do is mix at about 40% paint to 60% thinner. What I'm using is Tamiya thinners. And you can thin Tamiya thinners with your store-bought isopropanol alcohol, right? 71% or 91% if you want to get more pure alcohol, right? Whoops. I know you don't care. I'm just going to blame you for positioning this as opposed to, you know. Are you still single? Huh. I kid. Hey, where's Manny? Was Manny setting this up? Where'd Manny go? Well, I have another compressor, but we have another hose and airbrush. Oh, you have another airbrush. All right, cool. So maybe I'll set this guy up for you guys. I don't know how you have air coming out of it? All right, cool. This one's my compressor, right, Manny? Hold on, you're missing the rest of them.
You have any more skewers?
No, we don't have any more skewers.
Okay.
Give me a second while I fix this. you guys are wondering why this is so complex, this is not really that complex. All you need is a compressor plugged into an airbrush. What I have here is a hose system so that I could run a hose to a tank and run the airbrush. That's my thing. Well, we're not going to use the tank because we don't have the time.
Max. Max, look here.
Who back here needs an airbrush?
I need you to fill out your form.
No? You good?
Missing a spot
Anyone
or
here
field.
doesn't have an airbrush, want to try
Come
it?
to the front. Max.
Have you ever airbrush? Right. Is
that you?
You're not going to learn anything from this. Yeah, no airbrush. Huh? I've never airbrush. Okay. We're going to learn you how to airbrush.
Oh.
You're going to have to move up here. Because I think our plugs are up here. Right, Manny? Yep. That's right here. Hi there. Sorry. Don't mind me. Yeah. Hard to forget. No, I don't know anyone's name. I think it's fair that way because I don't have to split it. We're going to test for airbrush.
We're very, that's my head first, like that.
So does someone have an airbrush that's not connected to the hose?
At 4:30, you have to claim it because we are putting the tickets back in for the rest of the
Who did she hand out the airbrush to? Huh? Where did my airbrush go? No, that's not an airbrush.
Hey, Clem.
It was. No, that's mine. The other one's mine too. So I just need to make sure I find that extra airbrush because I don't want one of our guys to lose their airbrush when they don't.